plans that were dated for July 6th of 2022, the specifications that were produced at the same time, the general conditions, and addenda 1 through 4, which the last was produced just before the end of August. In addition, we outline what our assumptions are. The big one here is that we accelerated the ordering of the pre-engineered metal building, and it was bid before design was anywhere close to complete. And so really the pre-engineered metal building is our basis for design. We found several discrepancies as we were scrubbing scopes and bidding this, where the architects had made assumptions about the pre-engineered metal building that weren't quite right. And so I just say that the pre-engineered metal building specification, which we wrote, the design and the resulting order supersede the drawings and specifications listed above. And so that's one of the really big things that we need to do. Otherwise, there'd be a big shift in a lot of the construction and the way that it was bid.
So you're talking about the 1.5 million there? That's we're talking about number one?
No, I'm sorry. I'm on the cover page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So, the next is a really simple one, which is that wall tile is only located on wet walls. And really, that's just a scope thing. There was some discrepancies on the plans and some elevations of walls that weren't shown, and you couldn't tell where tile was actually supposed to be or not. And then the third is that in this estimate, as you guys have already realized, it's about $266,000 higher than what I talked about last week. One of the reasons for that is that we've included a budget for the transformer, and that's based on some communication with Heartland back in June. I don't think that anyone else has picked this up in any of their soft costs, hard costs, or anything. It's not typically included in a construction contract. The transformer is generally something that is paid for by the owner as it's part of the permanent service. But I've included it here just so we're covered. All right, and then the next page is the other thing that we have to include in our guaranteed maximum price proposal, which is a breakdown of the costs by the bid packages. And I don't know how much of a deep dive you would like to do on any of these items.
I'm curious on that first one, on number one, where it's 1.5 million.
Yes.
Going back to in the bid tab that you gave us back last meeting, is that the 1.454 that James S. Jackson was at?
Yeah, so in that meeting.
Higher than what that number.
Correct. So that's part of I'm sorry if I didn't let you finish your question.
No, that's,
Okay.
I'm just curious, is that the number for the erection of that building?
Yes,
Purchase
so
and erection of that
what you
building.
should see there is that there's an increase of $47,361. And that's part of the scope scrubbing that I've mentioned several times, which is making sure that as we talk to the other contractors that bid on these items, what's included, what isn't included. And there are also some items and this goes back to what I was talking about with the pre-engineered metal building being ordered first. Since we had ordered that and we produced this original price, they've added things to the scope. For example, there is a wall in between rooms 102 and 103, which is shown to have non-structural metal studs. And then instead of drywall, which is what our assumption was, they actually have metal liner panel.
Who is they? The architect?
The architect,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
They're showing that as having metal panel. And when we ordered this, we didn't account for the metal panel back in March or April when we bid it originally. And so our goal there is to pick up anything where there was a discrepancy. So we had 5 items that we found. Another one, so I mentioned the rooms 102 and 103. The next is that there is a demising wall between the 2 wash bays. That wasn't picked up in anybody else's scope. That's something where we had to have additional framing. So in our general trades package, we have structural steel included. However, there's framing in between the columns that we would need to create a liner panel enclosure there. So we have like Z-shaped purlins or Z-shaped girts going in between each of those columns in order to build this wall there. And then also the liner panel itself.
These are the reasons why this went up
Yep.
to the 1.5.
And that all happened in the last week?
No, but this is stuff that we found while we were scrubbing scopes on, I had made the assumption that our general trades package would pick it up. And it was just a gray area in the scope. They didn't, and so in order to produce a guaranteed maximum price, and we know you want to have that liner panel, we have to include it somewhere.
How far along is this building? In the building, the manufacturing process? It's what, a year ago or so, less than a year ago?
Yeah, I think our order actually went in May, and
Of
we.
this year?
Yep.
Okay.
Canopies have been added since we did design. There are 2 canopies over the entrances. There is a liner panel that's included on the second level of the mechanics mezzanine. I think it's mezzanine 202. And initially, we didn't have anything there at all. The architects included a liner panel there.
My question is, you gave us information a week ago. You just found out all this stuff in the last week.
I finished bidding this a little over a week ago, and I had to scrub scopes. I had asked for this meeting to actually be pushed a little bit because this was a lot of work to get done in about 4 days. So, yeah, we now have a complete scope, and these are the gaps that we found.
Okay.
And the last item is, for that ad, that $47,000 is anchor bolts. If we were typically bidding this, anchor bolts would be part of the concrete package. The concrete contractor did not pick them up. And so we ran an estimate and picked those up.
Is there any concern, Connor, 'cause I've heard from numerous sources that concrete's likely to be a huge shortage potentially coming up?
We're gonna have issues with
Are
concrete.
these prices locked in? Because anytime there's shortages, prices tend to go up significantly. So is this a price that we can rely on?
Unless the concrete suppliers raise their rates at this point. They are locked in for this project, but I think that,
Any idea of delivery of this building, date-wise?
the cold storage building is being delivered in the middle of November.
So this will be midwinter build probably? So really concrete will be next year then, right? Next spring probably?
We have foundations that need to be going
Yeah,
in
that
this
part, but I'm talking
fall.
about the flat work and stuff.
Flat
basically
work
in,
will
all that
probably
part
be
of
in the spring.
So that when you talk about these issues here, that's when who knows what next spring's gonna, you feel
Yeah, and-
confident?
Concrete work,
So-
the foundation side though.
For a little bit of insight on that, though, the issue that we're having with concrete is that there's a cement shortage. And there's supposed to be a plant coming online and sometime in February for northern Indiana. And that's supposed to alleviate a lot of these issues. I don't think that the first thing we'll see are price increases. I think we'll have limits on how much we're able to pour in a day or a week. I've heard 150 yards per day. I've heard 120 yards per day. I've heard different things. I think everybody's still trying to figure that out. And also for price increases, that sort of stuff, that's why we carry a contingency allowance. So we're carrying a contingency allowance of 5% on this project. So,
It just seems that nature is when there's a shortage of something, the prices just get jacked up, and as long as it doesn't affect us.
yeah, we saw something from Ozinga today, which isn't a supplier around here, but they're more of a northwestern Indiana. They're increasing their price by $30 a cubic yard. Yeah, I mean, it's
That's a
gonna price
bunch.
them out of a bunch of work if their competitors aren't doing the same thing. do you guys have other questions or?
Connor, I have something if you can hear me.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, can you talk a little bit about, you did talk about the transformer as one of the reasons why the price went up, but you didn't talk about the upsized water line.
Yes, so that's the other portion of this. Of that $200,000 or $266,000 increase, about it's 145 of that in cost is for the upsizing of the water line, and that's something that you guys, I believe, would be billing back to the city. So we're going from an 8-inch water line to a 12-inch water line at their request.
And they've accepted us billing them back for this money? I mean, we have something on paper that,
I have a verbal from the mayor, and he is thrilled about it. I think Jeff was working with him on probably formalizing that.
And that's the two things that are making the difference.
Those are the two big things that are driving it.
Sanitation's taken care of in this too, I'm assuming? Yes, sir. Okay.
We didn't bid that to be upsized. It's a dedicated sanitation line for this building. And so other.
That's in these, in this cost here, right? All that portion of it?
Yep.
since we're on sewage, at one time I remember us discussing some kind of a separator system that was in line from the building to the sewer.
That's for the wash bay
Is that
arrangements.
still part of this project? Do we still have that online?
Oil separator.
Yeah, we have an oil and water separator.
All drains in the building will run through it and filter the oil before it gets entered into the septic.
Yeah, so some of that ARPA funds for the infrastructure wouldn't have to be bonded because we already have it.
They got, because it's too big.
So separating the 145, that's definitely something that we wouldn't have to throw in the total number for a bond.
That's right. Just the net part in the building.
I'm not sure if the transformer qualifies or not, I don't know.
Is it all utilities for ARPA? Infrastructure and utilities?
I'm not 100% sure on.
I know it's sewage,
Water, sewer, and I think.
Water.
Internet, so if you had like communication, I don't know if electrical grid improvements would be into that or not.
I've not seen that yet, if we've tried that, so.
Really early on in the project, we were talking about different shapes for this building. And we ended up being about 10,000 square feet larger than what was in the RFQ, back when we did this in October.
Building shape hasn't changed since you ordered the steel in March,
Correct.
so it's been, the square footage has been locked in since then.
Yep.
60,800 is what is showing up here. Is that
That's between the two buildings.
Both
So we
buildings
have, yeah,
combined?
so we have 50,000 and
One building.
10,800.
in the cold storage is 10,000 something?
Yep.
Okay. But it adds up to 60,800?
Yep. Sorry, this is an internal, like, James S. Jackson Company, like, document, and so I have some more information on there, and I didn't mean for it to cause any confusion. Tell you, it's about $100 per square foot less than the NDOT project that was out for bid earlier this year. NDOT highway garage renovation. Yeah, that was over $260 a square foot. And we're getting about twice as much space as what they were looking for there.
That's a good thing. Okay, so what we have to do is approve the final construction contract price.
Can I say something here real quick?
Yeah.
The number one thing I'm hearing from all of my people is they think that this construction is costing us $9.5 million. And that's far from true, is it not? What is our total cost on building the highway garage? And I don't have an answer for them.
None of us
You
do.
have an answer for them.
That's what we're trying to get to.
We've got a close
We're
one.
getting updates.
And what we really need to decide
Chuck.
tonight is what we want the bond for. Is that correct?
Right.
Max amount for bond.
Can I step in? Barnes and Thornburg is asking us to do three things. Approve the final contract price for Connor. That'll go before the commissioners on Thursday, and there'll be an addendum to the contract that they'll execute once it's approved by all the bodies. And that's one thing. We need to approve the issuance of bonds at whatever amount we decide on. And then we also need to approve in the minutes the use of the farm sale proceeds for this project. Those need to be appropriated. So those are the three things that you all need to do. If you, as we move along here, so.
Well, and the
for
one
farms.
thing I would like to understand in the minutes, because it just says for loose equipment, furniture, and soft costs, and I believe the farm sale proceeds should go for hard costs as well. Is that correct?
Are you reading Brad's email?
I'm reading our agenda.
Oh, your agenda, yeah.
Which was on Brad's email.
Oh, what he said here was, for loose equipment, furniture, and soft costs of the project, that's the 2 million or so that was from the farm sale. That's how he put that.
Yeah, but that's not gonna cost that much. Soft costs are not $2 million.
Right, right.
So I wanna make sure that council's approving for hard costs as well.
Okay. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that's clear.
That way, all proceeds will be put into this project at the
Correct.
farm sale, right? So
Correct.
we're trying to, I assume that's what you're
That's what,
saying.
I believe that's what we have
That's
every
what-
intention
that's-
of doing.
That's always been my plan, that's the use for that
Yeah.
money.
Does that help, Chuck?
I'm waiting to see what.
That number.
I
know my feelings on it.
Right.
And again, Chuck, I don't think the ARPA numbers were in there. That
Say again?
sheet.
No.
The federal funds that we have available for infrastructure costs, I don't think are on that page.
Theoretically, the price just went up more.
No,
Yeah.
no.
The bonding could come down.
The bonding could come
Keeps the
down.
bond down.
The price is still the same on there, the price is, but just where we get the funding from.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no art money in this at all, that was,
No, but we
Not at
we
all.
can use it for that.
there's none left, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Chuck, Lisa just gave that.
Went to regional sewer and
It wasn't
went
passed around to any of us.
to the jail.
So,
So you say there is money left?
Yes.
Well, how much?
Over 700. I'm not sure exactly.
I sent a message to Brad Bingham, making sure that that's okay, that we're going to dedicate to both. I want to make sure that he's on both the hard and soft costs, so.
It would be really weird if it wasn't.
Yeah, municipal bonds are weird, though. Heavily regulated, and these are specialists, I just want to make sure, but it's ultimately.
Has nothing to do with those guys.
Right, it's got nothing to do with the bond.
It's how it's the county's money.
It's true, yeah,
We're gonna
absolutely.
spend that on soft costs, hard costs. That's up to us. That's not up to a bond council. Right?
I agree, I just wouldn't want to do anything to frustrate our ability to have the bond go through, because we're doing things with money that we shouldn't have, because that money was a part of that approval process, and so that's my concern. That's on.
Yeah, I'll
that's all
make sure we
saying.
check our. I'm just saying that they believe that's been the intent from council and commissioners all along.
And my recollection is at the last meeting, there was some maybe confusion or mixed messaging with what is a soft cost to begin with, and so we haven't really gotten a good definition from, at least I haven't from anybody, on what that actually means. We know what some soft costs are, but it looked like others were included in that as well.
I don't know, do you even have a full list of that, Sean?
I do. Most everything I feel we need.
That you're defining as a soft cost, right?
You know, the furniture and loose tools, we've got a breakdown right now of what those are, where they go, and some ceilings on each of those individual items.
You guys were talking about some lifts and things like that, as far as a soft cost.
Now, if you want that list, we can.
And everything's based on higher cost than I expect, because I didn't want to come in and be under, need it, and not have it. So I'll give you a little presentation whenever my turn's up.
Oh, you want to do that tonight? Okay.
So you can approve it.
I would assume we'd want to hear that before.
Yeah, let's see.
Connor, I would assume.
I guess the intent would be is that if you appropriate the sale of the county farm, then we'll start procuring pieces as we can and start quoting the individual items. That way we can start getting those, because there's some with very short lead times and there's others with a lot of coordination lead times. And this essentially gives us that ceiling, and we'll just start to work from down from there.
Will you have a place to put these
Well,
things,
some of
or
them will have
if they're
to
delivered?
Kind of order, get POs,
Okay.
and have to hold on to them because we don't have
Yeah.
places to stock them. We might have to, I think you had offered that maybe there was some space that we could take some things to the Jacksons.
I don't know if I said that, but,
Well, you raised your hand.
well, one of the things though that we could do with that is that our first building that's going to be complete is going to be the cold storage building.
Yes.
That'll be enclosed, it might not have a floor in it yet, but it would be an enclosed area to put things.
Yeah, so we would just, there's so many different items and then in that list, and when we get to that, we can talk about that, so.
We just don't want to open the doors and not have our ducks in a row to fill the building to actually operate on it.
Right.
We've heard too many horror stories from other departments that have done exactly that.
Right, what else do you have, Connor?
That's it. But if anyone individually wants to do a deep dive on any of this stuff, I'm happy to sit down and work through it a line at a time, just so everyone has full understanding, and that's it. With that, we're moving into our construction period, and we're excited about it.
John, why don't you come and explain what soft costs are?
Well,
I
I
do-
wish you guys would let me go first after hearing Connor's, but
I do have a quick question. The bids for Public Works, I think, need to end up with you at some point. Is there an auspicious time or time frame that you need them? Because I think we're pretty close to that point, and okay, great. It'll be this week probably.
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna bring the box up and give it to you now.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I need to make copies of some of this stuff and get it in my backup, so.
Get all the bonds and stuff into that.
Yep.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.
Are you sticking around, Connor, or are you
Yeah.
just leaving?
Nope, I'm gonna wait around. I thought you'd
All right,
have a
appreciate
question or
that.
two for me.
Yeah, we may.
Okay.
Yes.
Farm money is appropriated.
Okay. So they could use that on the off-site utilities right away.
Thank you.
One more here, Colin, if you need it.
yeah.
Sure.
22, maybe if you got two would be great. I can borrow Colin's side. Thank you. I'm missing.
I'm just gonna put that for one. Do you have one of the budget?
We're all going. He's still, Collins.
Colin. So by coming up with these numbers, we put together a list of items that I feel the highway garage is due for or necessary that's been lacking over the last several years. Some are new add-ons that will need to take care of the building, and some are just wore out items that we have now, but they're just wore out. With them separated in three different categories. We have an equipment category, a garage category, and an office category. And all of these prices were brought in, well, there's a couple that were actually quoted and bid when I originally started working on this, and others are high costs that I just grabbed off of internet pricing. So I believe that every single product in here that doesn't have a name beside it is gonna come in way under budget. but I did not want to come in with a low number and need more, especially if we have to wait until next year and we still have increases in inflation. I don't know if you want me to go through a list of why I think we need this or use this, or why it's due, or if you'd like to ask questions about anything on there. How would you like to handle it?
Can I ask you about an ice machine?
Yes.
I mean, I know it's for the, what do you got, 15, 16 employees?
21.
21 total. Do you supply right now ice water for everybody, or do they do it?
Yeah, we, since I've came in, they go to the handy spot and buy ice every morning.
So is it,
So I end up with $100 bills a month.
how much is it in a year you think you go through in ice?
Probably through the
Some are
summer,
probably
won't it?
close to $1,000.
$1,000 a year for ice?
I know every month we get a bill in the hot months, especially when we're chip sealing, is where we use most of it, is when the entire crew's working together and we're out in the sun and the heat. And we're running through every bit of $150, $200 a month. And buying it by the bag at a couple bucks a bag versus having a machine right there. It not only saves us time to have to go to the gas station, it saves us time to have to make a claim, to pay the claim, and it's right there at our facility, so we save time and money over the course of time.
That's true. That's less than a 3-year payback, which is a good
So
investment.
that, you put it in big coolers.
Yes, we have 2 coolers we put on our equipment, we fill them every day, carry them with us, and then at the end of the day,
Dump them out, dry them out.
the ice is gone.
Then they get another bag the next day.
Yeah. And with an ice machine, at my previous facility, an ice machine actually makes a better quality of ice than you buy in the bags. In the bags, they're trying to make it look big and charge you a lot, and all it is frozen water.
Talk to us about the radios. That seems like a large,
The radios, I made a visit to Adams County. We have issues with our radios. They really don't work and go across the county how they should, so we can't communicate from north to end of the county efficiently. These radios are over 20 years old, and they are Kenwoods. They're kind of out of date. When I was in Adams County, they had a computer monitor sitting there, and each one of their radios had GPS tracking in it. So if anybody was ever into an emergency, or if we ever come up to an accident claim, which I've found some people reporting chip stones, our truck did it, and I had to find a way to prove that it wasn't there. If we had a marker on our trucks to show our truck wasn't even in that facility or that vicinity when this accident supposedly occurred, because I've made anybody that claimed we did damage to their property or their vehicle, they need to file a police report. Well, the police take the report. We have no proof if we were there or not. I don't want to spend the money on claims that we didn't do. I've denied some chip claims. I've talked to the insurance company, and I'm trying to keep us from having to pay insurance claims. That would be the way to help out. Plus, the radios we have, we're going to have to take our base station out of our building, relocate it. We're going to have to either get a tower, rent a tower. So we're going to have funds in moving what we have now. Why not start from scratch since we're upgrading this facility in this county? I got
But
2.
There's a big, I apologize, but there's a big difference between a new facility for the highway garage and buying 8 computers and buying $62,000 worth of radios. I mean, those, in my mind, are not part of the highway garage project. And I haven't gone down through every one of these items, but I see several that, to me, stick in my head that way. But they are not part of the highway garage project.
I see a cost savings over the course of years with the old equipment we had. There is no money, as you know, hasn't been spent a lot on the highway garage. There's been people that have ran it that left things go for years just so they look good and they would keep the budget down. Well, your highway garage is really out of date from what I'm used to seeing. And all it's going to do is fail us, cost us money in repairs, cost us money in like I said, insurance claims. These are items that I feel that could prevent us from having to spend more money in the future. So I'm not looking at tomorrow. I'm looking at 20 years down the road. I'm doing this for the county. This is why I think this is what we need. And this is long-term goals. I'm not thinking tomorrow.
Scott, I take your point, but I just see that it's imperative that they have good radio equipment. Might not be the time right now, but I think it's dangerous if you don't have good radio equipment.
But I think part of what Scott's saying is could that be done through the general budget?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, because there's money in your
Their
general
money out of
budget
their-
to do some of this where that.
$1,000 a year
Because
for
we're
radios.
borrowing money to fund this.
Well, we have the 2.4 million for the sale of the county farm.
The
That's where-
intent would be is that these items, along with the soft cost, are
How do you
coming out of
budget
the
for this in the
county
future? We can't be,
farm. Correct.
this
So-
is one-time money, and so you hate to use one-time
Exactly.
money for stuff that should be through the budget process, that should be budgeted for ongoing, I guess is where.
That's what,
Maintenance budget for radios, but it's very slim. So it would take
That'd take
12 years?
Yeah.
12 years to come up with that money to buy it?
Just going further, let's think about those things as we plan for the future though, because if the budget's too low, then you ought to be coming to us during the general budget process and say, hey, we need to add more for radios because we need them now, instead of taking money that's one-time money.
So would you like me to?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, would you?
It's, I love planning for the future, and we talk a lot about that we ought to be doing it, but how do we budget for it? So that 5 years from now, if you come and say we need 60,000 more for radios, we're like, yeah, we don't have the one-time money anymore, so good luck because we didn't budget or plan for it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hypothetically speaking, let's say it cost us $10,000 to relocate everything we have now. So that's $10,000 that we wasted, in my mind, instead of spending a little more and getting the upgrade while we can and we have the money in the bank.
And then I think what you should point out too is where we are with the radios currently. I think the radio system we have is how old right now?
Over 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, for a radio system to be that old, we are kind of on the ragged edge at this point. So the concern is that with the technology that we won't be able to service the radios is kind of the concern. And that's why we're looking at this saying, if we're gonna do this move now, this would be the opportune time to try to sink that cost and spend that on these radios now versus coming in and asking for that in the regular budget. We can absolutely do that, and we probably should be looking at, in the budgets, kind of a cum capital fund for facility maintenance, because the facility maintenance budget that we've had has been
Right.
woefully absent. It's kind of been, well, we're gonna move, so let's not fix those things. And I think that's not gonna serve us in the future with this facility at all. So,
Two-post lift. You don't have one at the old shop.
No.
You've never had one.
No.
I don't see how you'd even operate without having
I-
one. And
I
you're
agree.
asking for one here.
I agree.
It bolts to the building.
besides Adams County, back to the radios, any other counties have this similar system, or is it just Adams County you're aware
I
of?
honestly haven't had time to visit a lot of counties. I've been busy.
So right now, just Adams County
Yeah,
you're aware of?
I was
it,
there
has it?
not too long ago for a part that we were lacking and needed, and they helped us out. And I noticed it in there, and I thought GPS, what I knew from GPS back when I looked at it, it was expensive, it was a monthly fee, and then I asked how theirs worked, and they got them in the radios, so I started asking questions about the radios. And it's not that they're sitting there trying to micromanage their employees. Say we have a truck out, we at times send, in the snow, we got 12, 16 trucks out running around all parts of the county, 24 miles by 16 miles apart. What if I can't get a hold of one of those trucks? I don't know where it is. Maybe somebody went in a ditch and he's laying there needing help and he can't do anything. If I can't get a hold of this guy, whether he's in a ditch or he's doing something he's not supposed to, I'll know exactly where he is. Or everybody will know where he is. We can send somebody to check and make sure that he's okay. I mean, there's lots of possibilities, great possibilities for this. And I
You can do
just,
the same thing with a $200 cell phone.
I don't have access to track cell phones.
Well, that technology is out there for a lot less than $62,000. Connor, I have a quick question for you. The fire, there's $45,000 here for fire systems and a security system. You don't have any fire or security in your proposal?
Oh,
It's in the suppression.
yeah, so we have, so it's actually an electrical item. We have the electronic safety and security. So I think that's the fire alarm. But what we do not have, we are putting in all of the drops or the conduit for the data systems. And that's just kind of more overarching term for what it is, because it's the security as well as like the communications. We don't have any of that.
Okay, so you don't have, but you do have fire, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, we have, so we have a sprinkler system and a fire alarm system that are.
So you've got that on yours as well.
The electrical, the control system, for monitoring. So if there's a fire, then it calls the fire department.
and that's our understanding is that yours has got the panel, but it doesn't call anything out at this point. So
Correct, 'cause
like
that would
the,
be like an ongoing like expense that you guys would have, because there'll be a monitoring fee as part of the ongoing operation.
So-
In addition to additional equipment to do that?
I'd have to dig into the scope of the fire alarm. I know that we did source it through Priority One, and they were a single spec from the architect, so.
And we also have to run the cabling for it. That's on owner's responsibility.
Yep.
So, yeah, we had to spend quite a bit of time to look at what was kind of listed as the owner-supplied items
Well,
like this.
I still haven't felt 100% complete with that. Connor's going to get me a set of plans in the morning so I can review it. I thought a list of owner's responsibilities would just appear, you know, but it didn't, so I'm going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I said you got 2 TVs down there, why you need TVs?
I got a small one in my office right now, and it's just always on the Weather Channel. I would like to incorporate job duties onto the TV in the break room, and I also want to start implementing training and having it for a PowerPoint presentation or safety videos to be able to watch. I would like to improve the safety and performance of our employees. And that's the cheapest way to do it.
$6,000.
I overestimated
everything.
Well, yeah, and many of these line items in here are exactly that, overestimations on kind of our best bet to make sure that we stayed above. So we want to ask for this number and then kind of value engineer our way down to whatever we actually need to have for that. But we don't want to say that we're not going to have a television and a computer drop in the conference room, because we want to be able to have, if we're going to have a meeting and someone needs to zoom in or use a Teams access, then we can do exactly what's going on here without using this facility. We've got a conference room that has that functionality at that point. So, I mean, and we're talking about a television in the conference room and then one in the break room that we could do essentially on a rain day, do a training.
And in the winter, be on radar.
Can I ask in regards to the vac trailer, is that through Ditch Witch, is that for cleaning out the sand or in the?
We have the wash down bays in there.
Wash bays.
We get them, or we have several drains all through the system and they get clogged. We don't really have it in our equipment budget. That can help out keeping our facility clean, and I've also found so many more uses to use it out on the roads.
Can you use a vendor to take care of this for a little while till you figure out what you need or don't need in there to?
Well, that's well over half or double of what I really thought we'd spend. That was just for a brand new one because I could call somebody and get it. I've seen several less than half price.
No, I'm talking about to have them come in and clean it out for you. I don't know how often
Yeah, I
do
mean,
you have to do, I mean, just to get started with,
Yeah,
that's a
our-
$130,000 item that could be.
And then we take all the 2.4 million from the Hoosier Farm and put it towards the hard cost. Then if we try to get that out of a budget, we're gonna be lacking salt trucks. We're gonna be lacking other things. So I see a way to improve the county and our employees.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but if this, some of these items, do you have to have them right now, is what I'm trying to say. Is this something that, is
I
it
guess
gonna
the
sit?
point-
Is it gonna sit more often than being used, or can you use a vendor to come in and clean those? I don't know how often they have to be cleaned
I
out.
could use that on the road a dozen times in the last month.
I understand that, but I'm saying that's a whole different piece of equipment that normally you purchase through your budget, typically when you buy equipment. So brooms, things of that nature, when you normally do that, it's through your road equipment.
So, but I guess the question would be is when do we purchase that? And
I don't know, that's whatever, you guys in your
So-
budgets, I don't know, I'm just trying to
Well,
bring it
keep in
up.
mind, as we bond this project, that bond is going to be over 20 years. So you're purchasing this stuff over a 20-year period, in essence,
This
correct?
isn't in the bond, though.
Well, it
total-
may bring the cost down or not put it in, takes the cost up. Well, however you want to look at it, it's essentially county money,
Sure.
however you want to look at it. But if it is in a bond, if it were, and it's not the county farm, but
I understand.
how you
Yeah, I get you. I
look at
understand.
it, we are paying it for it over a period of time.
Yeah,
And with
we're
that
paying
being-
interest
with
on
that
it.
being said, too.
In that essence, I mean, this is a theoretical question, but does council want to put that in the budget, or do we have an opportunity to do this? And it's going to be spread out over a period of time, if that's the way you want to look at it. And then we won't have to have these guys, as their department, come back to us each and every year, because there's going to be other things that they're going to be buying.
Sure.
I'm just talking out loud. I mean, That's how you look at it.
Yeah,
I mean, I know some of this stuff is absolutely necessary. Some of it, there's definitely arguments to, well, put it in the budget process. You can make that argument either way.
And a lot of it won't last 20 years.
Fine, you.
That's true, and
You'll be buying it.
and those things will have to be looked at. But
Look
some
at
of
this.
it will last way more than that, too.
Yeah, I'm looking at, interest rates are low and inflation isn't doing anything but going up. So if we waited 10 years to do any of this, we're either, if we have to do a bond or a loan on something, it would be more money for interest, or we would pay more for the equipment. It just now seems like a great time with everything we have going on for everything that we've listed.
You guys don't have a strong seed spreader, strong.
We bought our first trailer this year.
Do any of these items?
Well, then why we got the landscaping in there if they're getting all of these things?
So that's actually a good question.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Somebody needs to explain that.
If somebody wants to, or I will.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, we bid the landscaping twice, and
Didn't come in.
at $187,000. And I think everybody in this room can agree that that seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is way too much money. And that's why, at least on my sheets, right now, I have that asterisk as this is a budget. Instead of waiting for you guys, I think you guys have a date of like 12 days from now, that if we don't have the bond, it'll go up by 50 basis points. And so we have left that amount in there right now. However, if Sean wanted to buy 2 pieces of equipment or whatever out of that budget and then self-perform that portion,
Okay.
the difference gets returned.
So the 187's in your 9.7 million,
Just to make
okay.
sure we're covered.
Okay.
Do we have an estimate on if we buy that equipment for the county and do that ourselves, what that 187 turns into? How much less? Does that turn into 87? Are we saving 100? I don't know. Does anybody have an idea?
Probably turns
How much
close
is
to,
the equipment?
Under 25.
I mean, why they getting this?
Because in your site prep, that's gonna be rough, that's all rough grade, right? So it's basically going, I don't know how big of an area you're talking, but you're gonna have to work all that ground and everything just to get it prepped for seeding and that, for this equipment here to be used, is after it's
All
prepped,
finished
so
at this point.
somebody's gonna prep it and then you're gonna use,
Well, he needs a tiller.
seed it and
Right.
and blow it, is
If
what.
we're talking in some round numbers, our total site is 20 acres. We aren't probably going to have to seed all 20 acres, but if we were, right, I agree, because the whole front half is developed, so I'm just
Right,
grabbing a
right.
number. And if we're bidding it out, we're probably getting an acre seeded for about $4,000. So that's $80,000 plus his 25 should get us pretty close to what, like, we would spend, or that creates an upper limit of what we might spend. And then you'd have to add, I don't know the exact number of trees, but there's a couple dozen trees, maybe not even quite that much. There's some in the front, there's some in the back.
I think that's only just to meet area plan requirements. Is that what that was?
Part of it's to be a good neighbor to the
Oh.
adjoining property owner on the backside.
The south neighbor,
And then
one
the
of the-
front side, honestly, if you guys, I don't think our area plan has any landscaping requirements. Right now, I know a lot of other counties do, and that's part of their review process, but you can leave the trees off the front. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility.
Well, I'd say comfortably based on that, you're looking at going from $187,000 to $100,000. And that includes, and that's us paying for this equipment here versus that, so that's.
Just guessing, looking at it, we're probably planting less than 4 acres because the whole front half is 10 acres, and I'm thinking there's gonna be 6 acres of parking lot and buildings,
So
or drive surface and buildings.
I'd love to say it's under 50, but I'm being aggressive with that.
And it all depends on, we haven't come to a conclusion if you're gonna operate the machines we are, if you're gonna bill us for that, or if, how we're gonna handle that. We don't have a cost associated with that.
That's correct.
Labor.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask a few questions here? Sorry. Okay, Sean, your estimate at 799 here is essentially in addition to the soft costs that Mike Swan had put together. Can Mike hear us? Is he off or is he still on?
I think Mike dropped off. He texted me and said he's available, but he couldn't get in.
Okay. Do you know, so Mike Swan sends this from Cube, and their number is 669-800, and then it says furnishings and equipment is question mark. Is this 799 in addition to that? You would put that at down here?
question marks.
Okay. We are, if we add those costs in, and we add the 266,000, which was the addition that Connor came in with, to max out our bond at 9.5 million, if you subtract so I add 266 to 10,909, I add about 800,000 to that, and subtract the maximum we can get on our bond, we're over $3 million in that we would need to use of available funding that we don't have out of the highway garage. So we cannot fund everything tonight if we go all in. So these are all additions that are coming in, and so I just want everyone to be aware of that. We can borrow up to 9.2, and so and then we have 2.4 left over. So we're gonna have to do some striking out here if we're gonna get it done tonight.
I would recommend if all these items could be approved, I know that I can purchase them for much cheaper than what's actually listed here, and there's also a 12% contingency on there, which would actually take us to 714. And if we did the bargain shopping instead of just the really fast internet shopping, I would feel comfortable dropping that total number down to $500,000.
What do we have to reduce it by?
$0.6 million.
If we max out the bond, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, I'll go through the math. The Baird is telling us 10,909 is our total cost. With Connor's addition today, we had to add 266,000. That brings us to 11,175. Add 799,970. I'll just do 800. I can come up here with you guys. You're at 12, yeah. And we can get up to
There you go.
9.2, so we need at least 800,000 there to.
9.2.
So hey, Colin, can you go over the math one more time? So the Baird amount was how much?
Because this was.
Sure, I'll go through my thought process and you help me out with this, okay?
Chalkboard, so everybody can see
Yeah,
it.
that sounds good. You know, I've been complaining about this chalkboard being back here.
It's been there forever, so let's use it.
Tammy would be proud.
Yeah, it's 400.
What?
Based on a 9.2.
Got 187.
White chalk and there.
Should be a white
in this corner. I mean,
Hey,
take 100 off of that.
What's that?
We're just,
Yeah, and then that would have went up by 2.
okay.
Connor's went up by
5%,
something, so
and I'll
then we
buy it,
had
and I'll
his
take it out of his
price.
budget.
So, yeah, I
Remember,
don't
the
know.
total cost from Baird is
All right.
10 million.
Well, right now, you're double dipping the landscaping equipment because it's in two places.
Where is
Correct.
that? Where's that
So
from?
what's all in that number? Because we don't have, that was never sent to any of us on council.
Well, I got it today from Lisa, so,
Okay.
this is, project funds.
Thank you, Lisa.
Addition of construction costs, soft costs, a consideration for costs already paid, because we already have 404,000 that we prepaid. And then FF&E budget, and then it includes bond counsel fees, municipal advisor fees, trustee, title insurance, and underwriting,
So the fixtures and furniture.
Not in there,
not included.
not included.
Under soft costs, the number is
The
66.
F and F is fixtures and furniture, right?
Is, well,
F and F I thought was fixtures and furniture.
is that right? I'm not,
Traditional.
okay, all right.
Okay, so that picks up
Is that where
part
we're-
of,
I want to make sure that, okay, all right.
so
we're
that's
talking about
what,
the same
hey,
thing.
Sean, the fixtures and furniture is part of your budget here, right?
Yes.
right here.
That's
Okay,
all
so it
the
doesn't need to
areas
go
in
up by
green.
Additional 700 is what I'm getting at.
It's about $300,000.
Okay, but-
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm,
So if you've got 400,000, did you say, in that number of fixtures and furnitures?
Right.
Well,
Here.
I don't think we're as far off as what we're afraid of. If they've already got $400,000 in that number, that budget,
It's just all
I mean,
over.
without the contingency, we're at just over 700, but that's also
taking my
inflated
numbers
numbers
down,
that
aren't
were put together
No,
in 40
not yet.
hours.
No, it looks like
Right.
it.
Of,
You're saying in
of kind
contract.
of frantically trying to put this
Oh,
together
in
since the last
construction,
council
in
meeting.
construction.
But
I'm
does
just trying to
that-
like pick
Does
up.
that 10.9 have in Connor's increase?
no, it
Not yet.
doesn't. No, then we have to add
Okay.
266.
Can we call it the county's increase instead of Connor's increase?
No.
Are you saying don't shoot the messenger?
I don't know. That's what it's gonna be, that's what I'd like to know.
Colin, where's the 10.9 coming from?
Originally come from.
This is their total project cost.
Here you go. She's-
Lisa's putting it up
blowing
here.
there.
Can you blow that up? I can't see it.
Here, I can blow it up.
He'll work his magic.
Okay, so they have a $500,000 FF&E budget.
I'm pretty sure I have the oil
Furnitures and
burner.
equipment.
Connor's knocking some stuff off here.
He's claiming he's
We,
got
we
this.
should have, we didn't have time to make the comparison, but diagnostic scanner.
So the 10909 is just the amount of funds available. If you look, bond proceeds, and then you go down, it starts to come up with
If
the
we bonded
amount.
8.5.
Right. So if you look down here, it's 9522 are the construction costs, which obviously are now the 200 more. The soft costs minus what was paid. And then down here, fixtures and furniture's estimated budget was, my understanding,
500.
what Sean just did.
What he just did, I
Which
would
Sean
assume.
already said he could keep it 500 if we needed him to.
What's the end E?
Equipment.
Yeah,
Equipment,
fixtures,
okay.
furniture, and
Gotcha.
equipment. Yep. So I don't think we need to add in 700 more because that
You're not going
500.
700 above
I
that.
put 400 up here. That which was what they put in minus the 500. That if you wanted to go for what the highway garage just put forward, that's where we're at, where we would be at.
But I would think
I
the
think
quote
what
on the
your-
screen just
your-
needs
Your
to go up
numbers
by
are confusing, Colin.
266.
266 is all
Yes.
that 10.
Adding all that up, and that doesn't
287
need to be added.
Needs to be increased by.
I'm on the fly here, sorry. And I just saw
You're
this.
an attorney, not an accountant, right?
That's true, yeah.
So I think, yeah, we're just looking at the increase of 266 from Connor up there. Oh, sorry. Connor's quote that he gave us.
Which is, I rounded that, but that's
Yeah,
that.
so 10,554,000.
Connor's doing some math here, what he feels
Cost
with
of
some of
issues,
these.
it's,
And that's where they get to the 10,909 to get the numbers to match. So we would just have to increase the bonding from 8.5 to say 8.75 for the difference that Connor gave us, not his difference, but the one he gave us.
Did you guys talk to Stylus?
fine, that these guys' costs are inflated right now, correct?
Right.
Well, we dropped him to say he only gets 500,000.
Okay. And he
That's
said
the
it-
fixture,
I
furniture,
heard that he
equipment
couldn't get
is
it done for that,
500,000, so you just have to operate under a $500,000
Yeah.
for now.
If we stay at that, and based on what Connor's doing right now, I think that we'd be comfortable with that.
Holy shit, that's a big.
Stylus quoted.
All I have to do is pull the wire.
Well, we gotta buy the wire and pull all that.
Okay.
wire.
Seen the price of labor lately?
He was.
But we also haven't quoted any of that, that just was,
Yeah, these are all soft costs.
hey, we
honestly.
got that number from him in about Saturday to get started on it, we did it this morning.
Some of these numbers were pressed too, just if I couldn't find something that could be sought after for expense on the internet and just a rough number, I pressed a couple sales people to just give me an estimate. Where are we at? Give me a high number, and as long as we're below that, and I'm gonna negotiate and find the cheapest along the way, I just needed a number to bring to you. I didn't wanna leave a blank spot empty on this sheet.
Where are you at with that?
So I'm at 558 with no radios.
So what's the soft costs already paid? What's that?
The soft costs up there,
630.
Already paid?
were the architectural fees, all those servicing fees,
Consultants
things,
that were
yeah,
involved, the
consultant fees,
consultants that are
things
involved.
along those lines.
Okay. And that came from where? Already our
And we
farm
paid
proceeds?
yeah, we've already paid 405 of that.
Right.
Soft costs.
Came,
Yeah.
came out of originally from the sale of the small land we bought out there that went into a fund. I assume that was part of it, and then the sale of the farm, right? Both. That went together, didn't it?
And that's why the proceeds of the farm.
Because we sold
had
land,
two-
we
we
sold
had
land out
2.8.
there several years ago, of those little spots, so. It was 80,000, 100,000, whatever that was originally, whatever.
So if you were to add in just the increase that Connor provided to us, the bonding set at 8.5 would be 8,743,000, or call it 8,750,000.
Bond. I'm not trying to get too far out ahead here, but
This, now, we can get 2%. 3.6.
Which is still,
I wish we could too.
then it goes up 0.5%, right?
Can I see that sheet?
Well, if we had a
Yeah, because there's the
combination.
amortization schedule, right? Yeah, basically.
And where's,
Yeah,
you got all that other stuff up there.
You want me to go all the way back up to the
Yeah,
top?
go back to, whoop. Right, up, down a little bit. You gotta increase the, what, my math, maybe I'm wrong.
well, basically, we have to come up with 200 and some odd thousand
Can you
more.
walk through that for us?
Yeah,
'Cause
I
I'm
did-
not,
all
my
I-
math's not
Yeah,
following
what I
your math.
basically did is I took Connor's new price that he gave us of 9,766,020 minus the amount up there of 9,522,816. So that's $243,000 of extra costs that we got to have from somewhere. And the only place to get it, because we're already using the 2.49 from the farm proceeds, would be to increase the bond amount by that amount. Does that make sense?
But if I'm looking at that bond proceeds and other source of funds, that total of 10 million, what am I missing here? 10,909,000 looks like it's already more than what the project itself is.
Now, if you go on down here, you got the other project costs. So you got the 10,287,000, but then you got 414,000 in interest that we have to pay before the
Oh, the 414.
414
Okay.
before we start doing the print, you're right. And then down there, you got the cost of the issuance of the bond,
Okay.
and then whatever the additional person. So the 10,909 matches then what they said we would need for the bonding up above, right there. So I guess they took the 8.5 million, then just made up the difference to get to 10,909 by saying it's 2.409 from the farm, how much is actually the farm?
I think it backed into the bond.
Yeah, that's,
1.5. So they found that total cost of their.
well, I think the farm proceeds are probably more than 2.4,
This was 2.8 that we spent.
the fourth, yeah.
And the other thing we don't have up there, I don't think, is the ARPA funds.
No, that's 750.
You're not gonna spend all that
We can't use it for.
on this project.
Right.
Right, you can only use it for
No,
certain
we can do the
items.
145 for the,
Is that utilities?
that's utilities. Well, that's water
Yeah.
lines.
Water and sewer.
That's the cost for the upgrade. There's more cost in the water lines than just the 145. So
Right,
from
right.
8 to 12, right, or whatever that.
Yeah.
Upsizing it.
Yeah, and the upsizing is being paid for by the city, so that really wouldn't be a cost.
That's a wash,
That's
yeah.
not
That's a
in,
wash.
not in your.
So that's essentially money in, money out, so that is no cost to the
the
project.
cost for it is, but
Run out, and then we bill it back, right?
back, but I don't have.
That's
any-
just the upgrade, though.
That was
They're
the
gonna give us.
upgrade. That was
Yep.
just the upgrade.
So that's
Could
just,
we
that's
spend the
embedded in
difference of
Habe's
the
bid. You have to pull it out of their unit prices.
So if we spend
I don't
that-
know.
the ARPA
Yeah,
money
I don't know
on
for
that,
sure.
and then what the city pays us back, would that
No.
be,
We
have to
would-
be
You have to go
applied
to
for
the bid
ARPA?
to dig it out. That's-
Float the money for the water line?
Like,
Oh.
I don't know where those negotiations are with the commissioners.
They've changed it.
Commissioners are negotiating that.
Hunter, just curious, are we gonna be expected to float the money then for the water line? Can I put pressure on you?
I mean,
Is that gonna be above and beyond what we're talking here, right?
I think it's outside of my pay grade, just because,
Okay.
like, I think
That's
the
fair
city
enough.
would
That's
have
fair
to
It will
say
depend
that.
on your final interlocal agreement with the city. So if the city is willing to prepay for the upgrade, since it's already.
I'm just saying, are we gonna be
contract,
surprised again here?
That you're
something-
paying for
that we're
something the city
paying, we need
walked
more
out?
money because we gotta float this water line.
I mean, if
whole
your
bill
negotiation
float.
with the city were to fall through, then there's a potential there.
Then we would
but-
be that risk
Do
is
we
there.
know what all those costs are
Yes, what he
approximately?
presented to you would be that.
Yeah, it's,
No, that was just the
No.
upgrade.
That was the upgrade. The
we
total,
don't have a breakdown of that.
The base bid of the water.
more sanitary, right?
We have to
Or
do all
probably
that
sanitary.
ourselves, we gotta keep that in mind.
Oh, I will provide you any kind of a breakdown that you want. We just don't have it because we bid these as lump sum bids. So Habig provided, almost $1 million quote, but it doesn't actually have line items in it for how much each thing is, but he'll provide it.
Yeah, but if we don't have that much money, and the county has to provide all that, we may have to bump the bond up just for that in itself. Or,
Okay.
we need more money.
Of the 145?
No,
Above and beyond for to float. the
All
whole thing.
infrastructure that goes in.
Oh.
Utilities.
Utilities to get it out there.
Utilities. Those extensions.
If that falls all on us, which I don't think it will, but if it did,
Right now, the project includes all of that.
okay, it does.
Yeah.
That's in Habig.
It's in the
Okay.
site, it's in
All
the
right,
site.
yeah.
Part of
It's
their-
in
It gets it all out there.
It gets there. It's,
Okay.
so it is a complete
That's right.
package.
I
So,
didn't-
sorry,
I was
yeah.
hoping that we
When
did
you're,
miss
that's
that.
why he was making a face, is like, wait a minute, no, we've got that. So
It's
we're-
in that
Oh,
site.
yeah,
Yeah,
never mind.
it's okay.
No.
Okay. It's in the
There's potential for that to come
1.169
down.
million.
The only reason for concern, or at least warning, would be to say is that if the city were to, if negotiations, if we were to buy the 12-inch pipe and assume that they were
Yeah.
the agreement, but as long as the interlocal agreement goes through and everybody is true to their word, we should not have an issue. And I wouldn't have any reason to believe that the city would back out because this was directly their request.
Yeah.
And so,
But it's in the excavation price here, right?
It is.
Okay.
Help me understand the reason we're meeting here tonight. I heard we have 12 days to put a cap on this from a bond
Or
availability.
the rates go up.
What would be, I'm not feeling real good, what would be the effect of the rate going up
Well, 0.5% would be over $500,000.
over 20 years?
Isn't that what we came up with?
But if we could trim this $500,000, it'd be a wash, right? So if we could trim it more than $500,000. I mean, I'm setting it, I am surprised, I don't like surprises.
it's in it.
And to see a furniture and fixture this late in the game, that's at nearly a 10% of the entire project, is frustrating.
I've been handed 3 total cost numbers. I have no idea which one's total cost right now.
The other thing that I was just asking Lisa is if we did have a breakdown of the Habig cost, some of that could probably come from ARPA funds.
Right.
And so,
That could help.
it might be a decent amount that we wouldn't have to raise this any more than where it's at. I don't know. Or,
I mean, the only reason that we have the list that you're seeing here right now, I mean, the last minute was because a lot of what we had to do is go through this ourselves to put together your fixtures and equipment list and the budget. I would have loved to have Mike here, Mike Swan, presenting this exact list as your owner's rep. I mean, personally, I don't think Sean or I needed to be the ones presenting the list to finish the package up. It's just our building we work in. And we wouldn't ask the auditor to go through and figure out how to cable her room or her office, or upgrades for the phone system to make sure that the phones are there. And that's kind of a bit of an unfair request from
Because we're already
us.
paying somebody else to do that.
A significant amount. I
Is
mean,
there any reason he hasn't? come
Yeah,
up with
why
that
isn't he
list?
here? Yeah.
I invited him tonight.
should be on this
He's
call.
not here now.
So.
We don't have any commissioners sitting here either.
So, I mean, I guess fair enough, we're all kind of frustrated that some of these things are being left alone, and that we're scrambling to make sure that you have the highway garage that you're expecting at the end of this project. You're putting the money up, this is
No,
an
that's the
expectation.
taxpayers. The taxpayers
Well,
of Wells
exactly,
County.
and so
That's
we're
the
all
important
trying to
part.
be responsible and putting together numbers that have that, and fair or
Well, I
unfair,
have
we've
the
got to
same
have this.
frustration that other councilmen have here, is we still don't,
Yep.
it's still loosey-goosey with what we're doing
Well,
here
and-
tonight.
And granted, thank you, Lisa, for having that number from bond council, because it actually shows us what our FF&E budget is and where it's coming from, because we didn't know where it was coming from. We just knew we're supposed to provide the cable to actually hook the phones up and the computers up to the network. And then who's paying for the network switch?
Thank you very much for bringing that up.
So, I mean, some of those things, it's that complete package of that project, so, and based on that $500,000, that's in the presentation you have, based on what I think is in the $180,000 of the landscaping budget that's there, that you're holding on, that eliminates pieces of equipment. I think you still have money from ARPA that can go for part of the hay-big offsite utilities. There's over $100,000 in water and sewer in their budget. I think you're actually very good in that. I think unfortunately, the presentation of it is lacking, and it's making everybody a little more tense than needs to be for it. I think you've got that there. Unfortunately, it's in 3 different pods.
Scott, I just did the math real quick, and it's 533,000.
Given a couple weeks or maybe a month or so, we could easily trim that amount and and probably significantly more from this project.
I feel like, if we look at it and if we don't do something and interest rates go up, then we're going to kick ourselves again, because we have been talking about this whole highway project for how many years, guys? We've got to get some things narrowed down. We've got to get on with this process. That's my feelings.
Well, and I think that what we do is we don't add that other couple $100,000 because it's gonna come back out of the hay-big.
We're pretty confident we can get that with ARPA funds out of Haybig, then we leave it at 8.5.
Right.
I would be comfortable with that. I get what you're saying, Scott, but if we don't find 500 of savings, that makes me nervous too. But we still have to pay it from somewhere, you know what I mean? So if
We got 800,000 like that added to it.
No,
Why
it's
couldn't-
500,
Yeah.
Why couldn't why couldn't we find $500,000?
well, from Connor's one.
Yeah,
we
but you
can't
just
find any more
automatically
out of
lose it
Connors,
from the
right?
bonding perspective.
I mean, Connor's is
If we
where we
wait.
have to find the
Yeah,
savings.
you're gonna have
I
to.
would say that this is a guaranteed maximum price. And there are things in here that I expect should come down a little bit. I believe that after scrubbing these scopes, that we might not have to touch the allowance very much. But that's a safety factor for me
You
for
wouldn't come back
producing.
and take it out, is what I'm saying.
Not right now.
Right, so that's
But
what
by the
you
time
would
it's all
say.
said and done.
In the end, there could be.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be till the very end. I mean, you wouldn't come back in 12 days and say, yeah, I've trimmed out 500 grand, here you go.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. That's been my mandate for 9 months.
The bond that we're talking about here, I have not seen it and the information of it, but it is a prepaid down bond, prepaid bond. Does anybody know that, or can it be paid?
That's the.
There's no allowance to prepay
I think
on
there's a
this bond?
certain period of time where you cannot prepay, and then it comes down, I had a brief conversation with Barnes and Thornburg about that, and that's what they indicated to me.
So any savings that we could find after the project's completed cannot go back to pay down on that bond early or anything?
For a period of time, yeah. It might be 10 years.
Oh, it's a
See what I'm
significant.
saying?
I don't know.
Instead of it sitting there to be spent something else later on, let's get work on that debt, and it cannot be done, I guess.
So we would prepay out of the highway garage fund then?
You would pay out of the bond proceeds.
Right.
and then out of the highway garage, then second.
Okay.
But principal can't
So-
be
The
prepaid.
other thing is
51.
on bonding, the only way to change that amortization schedule basically is to refinance, okay? So, yeah,
And then I left your
$200,000
allowance
The rate
off
that they're
everything
giving
that
us.
they were other stuff.
yeah, so you don't want to do that.
It's unfortunate.
I don't think
But I
we
think
need
when
one more
the
than
equipment was still-
8.5.
not having known that we had $500,000 as even a target.
And then if there's not
Come up
enough
with
money
about
for what he wants to do at the end, then he does it, he does it through the general.
50,000 to.
Yeah, he just doesn't get everything.
It's only
He
that
bells and
time.
whistles.
Just have to check things that come and go out
I
of
think there's
next year's
still
budget or
enough.
2024.
And we got other resources we could pull on.
But we had to come up with this equipment list in the dark.
I know.
And so,
I think
it's not
8.5 is
shocking
good.
that these don't line up perfectly, but it's a conversation that had to be had. We had to
I
have
think
this.
we'll have to.
The thing is, if you
And
make
you know what?
house,
Waiting is a risk,
What they
yeah,
talked
for
about
sure. We already
5
know
years
that.
ago, didn't they? I rattled that stuff out there about
5
white
years.
county.
We bid her
You'll
plans
never
and
do that 5 years. and
We're just gonna need a
payment
motion
to
then.
us.
All right.
So,
3-4 years ago, but he's up to 5-6 million.
I'm going to entertain a motion then, if somebody wants to make a motion to the final construction contract price, which will include the soft costs.
Steve, could I speak real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Connor just went through here, and I haven't had a chance to look at the entire bid packages like he has, and he has just included several of these items and costs into his package too. So he took it from,
That's 714.
Yeah,
he
7.
took it, just by crossing off and stuff that he's covering, he took it from 714 down to 558. And then I also have put high dollars on all the other equipment, so. I
And-
see
500
no,
allowance
The
in there.
500 looks very
150.
good.
So these are the ones that I'm thinking are landscaping.
Usually not have to go over that.
I didn't want you to be confused or come back to it later.
So I'm ready for a motion if somebody wants to make one.
I'll make the motion to approve the construction of the $9,766,020.
and do we have to include the bond?
Colin,
We'll do bonds.
did that need to be just for the 8.5, the first?
No, we need to
to do
approve the
3
final
motions, right?
construction contract price that Connor had mentioned.
This one, then we do the others in
Yeah,
order.
and these will need to be
Okay.
separately minuted in that, yeah.
So just for the construction is what we need to first?
Just the construction costs, yeah.
Then I will second that motion.
Okay, we,
$9,766,020.
we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm a nay. I need more time. I need a commissioner in here. This is too much in one spot, but
Okay, we have one nay. Make a note of that. Okay. Secondly, we go for the approval of the bond amount.
Yeah, so up to 9.5 million, I think I heard 8.5, so whatever you all think is best.
8.5, is that what we went? So I will make a motion for bonding of this project for 8.5 million.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. And all in favor of that motion, aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Todd opposed.
On 8.5.
So Todd and Chuck.
Okay. What are you thinking that should have been?
I'd like to see it lower, but we'll see.
All right, thirdly, the approving of the use of the farm sale proceeds for the loose equipment. Did you ever get a response back for your question?
Yeah, that's fine what you suggested. It can be hard and soft costs.
Okay, for the hard and soft costs. So need a motion for that effect.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 7-0 on that one. Okay, any other business we conduct?
Hope not.
Okay. Guys?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna be a little late, Seth.
This is just